Welcome back to another episode of the Self Care Revolution podcast. Okay, I'm your host, Demita, and here at the Self Care Revolution podcast, we like to talk about self care in the most relatable way so that you can leave every episode with at least one tip or way to look at something to help better your overall human experience. Okay, because I believe that our main job is to take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't make it to our jobs. We can't make it to our events that we plan. We can't go on those awesome, amazing trips that we plan to travel or anything like that. And we can't be here for the people that we love. Okay, so it all goes back to some basic pillars in self care. That if you pay attention to these four pillars of self care, you can't help but have it spill out into the rest of your life. Okay, now, I always say that people should have professional goals, right? You should have professional goals set, but you should also have some well being goals set as well. And it's not always, oh, I'm going to work out every day or I'm going to eat this. It's not always tied to that, okay? And I want to try to break down, I guess, over the course of, many series. We'll talk about different aspects of self care and try to relate it to real life. Like, how can you understand? Because what I'm noticing lately is that people really are hearing something totally different than what I think that I'm saying, okay? Because the daily five, which is hydration, nutrition, okay, movement, prayer, and reflection is one. And then what was the other one? Okay, I had a brain fart. Hydration, movement, prayer and reflection, nutrition, and rest. Yes, how could I forget rest? So it's like these are basic things that we all need at the very, very least, right? Everybody is gonna sleep, everybody is gonna eat, and everybody is gonna drink something. Okay, so if you focus on those things, like the thing that really matters is the focus on yourself, the intention that you have, right? It doesn't really matter what you do. It's the fact that you're focusing on it, because once you start focusing on something, then you open up new pathways to, oh, what about this or what about that? Like, you want to deepen your understanding of whatever the thing is that you're focusing on, right? Like right now, if you don't really want to know anything about podcasts, the only thing you are focused on is that, oh, you know where to listen to your favorite podcast, right? So you're not going to really expound on any type of other in-depth questions about podcasting, because that's not what you're interested in and that's not what you're focused on. However, if you were focused on podcasting, you would not only be like, oh, how do I listen to my favorite podcast? You'd be like, how does one start a podcast? Or what are the different podcast lanes, or what are the different ways you can make money podcasting? Or how many, what's the most successful? Like, the questions deepen as you focus on something, right? And so the thought behind the daily five, which is focusing on these simple tasks of focusing on what you're hydrating yourself with, right? Focusing on what food you're putting in your body, focusing on whether you got enough rest, focusing on your prayer and reflection, focusing on movement. You're focusing on yourself. So we're all different people, so anybody's list is going to look totally different. Once you start focusing on yourself, you might be like, oh, I want to go further into this hydration thing, and then that kind of deepens your practice on how you hydrate yourself. That could lead into the way that you study something. That could lead into you meeting somebody, else that is on the same plane, and then you're learning more. The point is, each thing ties back to a foundational pillar of self-care that we need to sustain ourselves to the next day, okay? And if you focus on those simple things, it can do nothing but grow, okay? Because it's going to make you feel better. If you focus on those things, you're never going to regret focusing on those things, because it's going to make you better. Okay, so like I said, it seems like people are hearing something else, right? And they're like, oh, well, I'm going to wait until this day to do this, or I'm going to take a break. I can't do this. And it's like, well, you're still probably eating and drinking and sleeping at the very least. All I'm saying is be intentional at some point in your day about what you need, right? And it's no negative thing that could even happen from taking part in this activity. So, I just want everybody to really, really focus on the fact that at the very end of the day, it's about focusing on you. If you sent your child to somebody's house for a day or two and they came back and they told you they hadn't had any sleep, they didn't get any food, they didn't get any water, you would already have your shoes and your coat on the way over there to whip that person's ass because what? They neglected basic needs for your child. Now, why would we neglect basic needs for ourselves is my question, okay? Because, like I said, it spills out everywhere. Now, I like to start these out by focusing on two things, okay? One, I want you to, even if you don't say anything out loud or whatever, I just need you to put a little bit of focus on this for a second. What went good last week, right? Did you drink enough water? Did you get really good rest? Did you, do the workout you said you were going to do? Or at the very least, did you stretch? Like things like that. We're not talking about your professional goals. We're talking about how did you treat yourself last week? What went good, right? At least one thing. Identify that, right? And then I want you to, based off of that one thing that went good last week, decide what you're going to focus on this week when it comes to your overall self-care and well-being, okay? And I like to write that down. Okay, so last week for me, what went good was my movement. Okay, I stayed consistent with my workout routine, and I felt really really good about that. Okay, and with that being said, I was not so good about hydration last week. So this week I'm focusing on hydration. And I hope to also stay consistent on my movement as well. Okay, so that's what I'm focused on. You could put what you're focused on down in the comments below. I would love, love, love to know. Okay. Also, want to say shout out to those of you that checked in with us every day during the month of September on TikTok. We still have a couple of days left, and we're going to start something new in October because we're in the great lock-in era. Okay. Everybody is focused on themselves. And we are going to be focused on the basics so that we can build on top of that, okay? Everybody likes spa days and things like that, but that is the icing on the cake. The cake is actually, what are you eating? Are you getting enough rest? Are you hydrated, okay? How are you feeling before you're going to go to the spa, okay? Now, the spa can only help with a certain amount of things. So we have to work on the foundation, and that's what this is. All right. So the weekly tip for this week is that skipping the basics does not save you time. You don't get any time back for skipping, yourself. Okay. The basics are just like brushing your teeth. Okay. It really ends up costing you energy when you put yourself on the back burner. Okay. Because eventually your body's going to shut you down. All right. So let's start out by, doing a little self-care roll call. All right. And like I said, this is just for you to have some focus and awareness on where you are at in your self-care, in your self-care regimen. Okay. Because self-care matters daily. Now, the self-care roll call is, have you eaten any real food with color? Okay. Not just any things that are in bags and boxes, but have you eaten any real food with color? All right. Of all the drinks that you've been drinking this week, how many of them were hydrating? Okay, or have you been getting in hydrating drinks? Okay, you could also eat hydrating things as well. Have you moved your body? Okay, if you moved your body, it didn't have to be a whole full workout. It could just be a full body stretch. Okay, but you need to definitely move your body. How is your prayer and reflection life last week? How was it? Do you need a little bit more focus on that? And you can pick one or the other, whichever suits you. I like to do both, um, but definitely choose one or the other. I like to do both. And then rest. Now, listen. I know sometimes you feel like you can't control your rest schedule because you have to get up early for the kids or work or this or that, but you have to look at your schedule. I have an exercise that I like to help people do too, where you can actually see where you could utilize your time better. But if you could, utilize your time better to rest, that would be great. Okay. Because my main message for this is that one, I'm nobody's coach. I'm just somebody who wants to live a better life. So I am working on myself, starting with the foundation and then going from there, okay? But the basic things are the things that uh make huge changes, right? They seem like small actions, but they make huge changes, and they ripple out into better decisions. You know what I'm saying? When you're not hungry and not dehydrated, you think better. That opens up times, ways for new ideas to come in, because you are not going to get amazing ideas if all you can think about is the fact that your stomach is rubbing your back, or you didn't get enough sleep, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so you're doing all of the basics to be able to perform when you need to. Okay, and it sustains you to the next day. It's like charging your phone. You're not going to just take your phone and never charge it. You're going to make sure that you charge it. So don't treat your phone better than you treat yourself. Like, make sure you get to recharge as well, because it, like I said, it ripples out into other things. I already said better decisions, new ideas, but it also affects relationships, right? It affects how consistent you can be at things that you want to do. It affects your confidence, okay? So, what I want to do today is kind of just share with y'all some like really relatable reasons why you need to be focused on the basics. Listen to the words that I'm saying. The basics are hydration, nutrition, sleep, prayer and reflection, and movement. Okay, these are not things that you're not doing anyway. Most of them you're doing already. I'm just saying be more intentional when you do them. Okay. All right, so the let's take physical self-care for example, right? You can benefit yourself in physical self-care by what you're eating real food, okay? Getting more sleep, okay? Moving your body. That is going to get you more energy. That is going to get you clearer skin if you're eating the right things, right? And you're going to be in a better mood. You're not going to be feeling like you want to cuss anybody out, or feeling like irritated or whatever. You're going to be feeling so much better because of the physical self-care that you've been taking, okay? But on the flip side, this is what you're choosing if you choose not to focus on your physical self-care, okay? You're going to have low energy. All right, you're gonna be always tired. Oh my God, you're gonna have mood swings, aches and pains. Y'all always complaining about. People want to lose weight. Physical self care, if you don't pay attention to that, weight gain comes in, right? And then whoever is out here saying they're running on fumes, you are definitely not paying attention to your physical self care, okay? So, if, for example, you've ever snapped at anybody for no reason, okay? It might not be them. It might just be the fact that you didn't get any sleep and just skip breakfast. So these things where you're just forgetting about yourself, they further hurt you by helping you show up looking crazy later. Okay? So that's the physical self-care benefits and consequences. Now, let's talk about mental self-care, because mental self-care could be a lot of things. It could be journaling, right? It could be the walks that you take, which also would hit physical self-care, okay? But if you focus on mental self-care, that means that you're writing out your thoughts. Maybe you're journaling, right? You're taking time to reflect on things, right? You're taking time to process your thoughts. Okay, you unplug when you need to, which means that maybe you might have more focus because you take the time to focus on your mental self-care. Okay, you might have a less overwhelming feeling, and you have better decision making because you're focused on uh, you know your mental self-care. Now, if you're neglecting your mental self-care, right, then you probably have experienced procrastination, which is something that's very common. Okay, brain fog. You always forget stuff. Maybe you feel stuck. All right, like life is on repeat. That is an example of not focusing on your mental self-care. If you ever notice, if you ever felt like your to-do list feels impossible until you write it down, that is how you would uh, be doing mental self-care in action, right? You got all these things in your mind. Let me write all this stuff down. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, I don't even really have that much to do. Let me just go ahead and knock this out. You know what I'm saying? So that is the benefits and consequences of mental self-care. Like, when I say consequences, I mean like if you neglect these forms of self-care. All right. Then you have emotional self-care. All right. And this is where you need to be setting boundaries. Okay. Feeling your feelings and processing your emotions. Now, my thing is a lot of people say yes to stuff that they know they already don't want to do, right? That's part of that's part of you needing to set a boundary for yourself, okay? Um, because if you set boundaries for yourself, you set people's expectations, you will have more self respect for yourself, and honestly, you don't even realize that you will boost your self confidence like that. Now, the consequence is that you are, agreeing to all of these things that you don't really want to do. You're burnt out. You're irritated. You're out here people pleasing and all types of craziness, right? No, if you're constantly saying yes when you want to say no, your body and mood will tell on you. So it's best to start learning how to set boundaries. That's it. It's so, like, this is all about you. There's nothing negative that could come from working on these, okay? And then lastly, like I said, we got spiritual self care. But that's the prayer and meditation, okay? Now, a lot of people listen, do what you do, okay? But the benefit of prayer and meditation and things like that and being a part of a faith community is that you have a level of peace and clarity inside of the chaos that is the world that we live in, okay? The consequence of neglecting your spiritual self care is that you probably feel empty, or you might be, chasing things that offer no satisfaction for real. Okay, when you skip stuff like this, life feels 10 times heavier because you're carrying it all by yourself and you're not processing it with any direction at all. So, my thing is, these things all benefit us in some kind of way. So when I talk about these things in the short little videos that I do, I know I can't get that much into those, but I hope that people who see those videos come and get more explanation on things in these episodes, because we think that it's harder than it is. That's really what I think. I think people are looking at it like it's something extra, and this is like, no, I just need to see what I'm actually doing when I'm doing these things, because I'm doing these things anyway. Okay, that's how I look at it. All right. So my challenge to you for this week, all right, is to pick one of these things and make it a non-negotiable each day of the week. Just like you gonna brush your teeth every day. You're gonna brush your teeth every day. Nobody's gonna be able to stop you. Put something behind that. Maybe you drink a bottle of water before you brush your teeth. Okay. Maybe you drink a bottle of water before you drink your coffee. Okay. Maybe you decide to stretch before you brush your teeth. Like, do it like that. But at least pick one area that you're gonna make non-negotiable this week. All right. Now, if you need help figuring out what kind of little small things you could do throughout the day, for self-care, I have a free tracker that you could download at selfcaremattersdaily.com. Okay, and get your free tracker, because you can take a screenshot of it and you use a little markup feature and fill in what you did, and you can do a new one each day. Those small things help your mood, it helps your mindset, and it gives your body sends your body a message that you focus on yourself every day, no matter what's going on. Okay, because sometimes we need a reset in the middle of the day, and this tracker will help you, remind you, be like, oh, let me do that. You can make it your lock screen and look at it. It just has little ideas on there of different acts of self-care that you can do every single day. Okay, anyway, with that being said, I want y'all to make sure that you're following me on TikTok. We're still checking in for the month of self-care September. It's by Demita Joe. Make sure that you are sharing the podcast and get in the comments below. I want to know, what did you choose as your non-negotiable for the week coming up? What's it going to be? All right. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.